Dr. Vidya Patil, and I will be guiding and assisting you during this course. In the previous video, we have tried to learn something about modal verbs. We have seen what are modal verbs, how they are different from the main verbs, and we have also seen how to make use of certain modal verbs such as can, could, may, might, and able to. Well, students, in today's video, we will try to find out how to use some more modal verbs. Let us now try to see how the modal verb shall is used. Now, this modal verb shall was used earlier with the first person pronouns such as I and we. I shall or we shall. But nowadays, in our day-to-day language, the usage of shall has become very less. We now use it only for formal occasions or when we are making legal documents. Generally, in our day-to-day language, we use shall when we are either offering something or making certain suggestions. And in most cases, the modal verb shall can always be replaced by any other modal verb. But still, let us try to find out where all we can use shall. First of all, when we are making a suggestion. For example, shall I get a pizza for dinner tonight? Here you are suggesting or asking, just taking an opinion, and so you can use shall. When you are offering or volunteering your help or your services, then you can again use shall. For example, that bag looks heavy. Shall I carry it for you? So here you are offering your help, and so you can make use of the modal verb shall. You can also use the modal verb shall when you are asking for instructions. For example, where shall I keep the mail when it arrives? So, when you are asking a certain instructions, you can always use the modal verb shall. When you are making a promise, for example, you shall be the first person to know. So, you are promising someone that you are going to tell him first before anyone else. Also, when you are confirming certain things, you can use shall, such as I shall meet you there at 7. But as I've told you earlier, on all these different instances, we can always replace the modal verb shall with some other modal verb. We can always replace the modal word shall with should. For example, shall I get you a pizza for dinner tonight? Can be rewritten by using the word should I get a pizza for you tonight? Similarly, if you are asking for an instruction, what should I do with the mail when it arrives? You can say, instead of shall, you can use what should I do with the mail when it arrives. When you are offering, so the bag looks heavy. Shall I carry it for you? You can replace shall with can or could. So, can I carry it for you or could I carry it for you? When you are confirming, you can replace it using the modal verb will. For example, I shall meet you there at 7. You can rewrite it saying, I will meet you there at 7. So, though shall is not used very often nowadays, you can still use it in certain formal occasions, especially when you are offering help or you are suggesting something. Let us now see how to use the modal verb should. Now, when you are making an advice or giving a suggestion, you can use the modal verb should. Your hair is too long, you should cut it. Situation, if you're talking about a situation which is most likely taking place in the present tense, then you can say, Mary should be at home by now. Also, when you are talking about something which is a possibility in the near future, then you can say that they should win tonight because they are a better team. So in this way, whenever you are making a suggestion or you are talking about something which may be happening in the present or which is likely to happen in the future, you can use should. Now, in most cases, we can always replace the modal verb should with ought to. But when we use ought to, it sounds more formal and so it is generally not used. And should is used in all informal situations. Also, when we use should not, it means that you are not or you cannot do something. So, for example, you should not throw garbage on the street or you should not work so hard. So, should not shows that you are advising somebody against something. Let us now have a look at how to use the modal verb must. Now, generally, when you are showing a sense of obligation, that is, where it is an compulsory or a necessity to follow certain rules. For example, you must wear a seat belt when you drive, or when you are coming to a deduction, that is, you are coming to a certain reasoning. So, for example, there is so much of snow, it must be cold outside. So, you have come to a certain conclusion but through the process of reasoning. Then you can use must. Now, when you have to emphasize necessity, for example, plants must have light to grow. So, when you are showing that it is a necessity, without it, it cannot do, then you can always use must. When there is a strong recommendation, so we must get together for dinner soon. So that is that surely it should happen. So when you are trying to state something like this, you can use the modal verb must. Also, we use must not when we have to show a sense of prohibition or not giving permission for something. So you must not drink while driving. So this is a compulsion again. And for a negative thing, when you're stopping somebody from doing something, you can always use must not. Now, in many cases, we can use have to instead of must, especially when you are framing questions. When you are asking a question, you cannot use must and you have to use have to. So, does he have to write the test tomorrow? So, here you will use have to. Similarly, when we use must, it is an internal compulsion, whereas when you use have to, there are certain external compulsions on you. For example, if the teacher comes into the class and tells the students, you must complete the essay, then the compulsion is by the teacher, so it is within the class and so she uses must. But if a student comes and informs the other students that we have to complete the essay by tomorrow. So then there is an external compulsion, maybe the teacher has informed him and so he is following and giving those instructions. It is not his own instruction. So in this way, you have to find and keep this in mind when you are using must and have to. Let us now see how to use the modal verb need. Well, the modal verb need is a softer alternative in place of must or have to. So when you want to stress on something, you use must or have to. But if there is slight chance of excuse there, you can use need to. For example, I must finish it tonight. So here there is a greater sense of compulsion. But if you rewrite the sentence, I need to finish it tonight. It means it would be very good if he finishes tonight, but even if he is not able to finish, it will do. So it's a softer version of must. Let us take another case. For example, I have to finish it tonight. So again, there is a strong sense of urgency here. But when you use I need to finish it tonight, It means that it will be very good if I can finish it tonight, but even if I don't, I will manage. So in this way, the modal verb need can be used in place of must or have to. Similarly, when we use need not, it means don't or don't need to or doesn't need to. For example, we need not hurry. So here it is saying that it is not at all necessary. We need not hurry. We can rewrite using the other modal verb such as we don't need to hurry. Because we is a plural pronoun, we use don't need to. If we use a singular pronoun, for example, he or she, then we can write he or she doesn't need to hurry. So instead of need not, we can replace it by the modal verb don't need to. Similarly, need not and don't need to are quite similar to don't have to. So we can also write we don't have to hurry. So students, you can now see that we can use need not, don't need to and don't have to in place of each other. Let us now see how to use the modal verbs will and would. Now we can use will to show a request. For example, will you help me file these papers? Now, similarly, we can use would also to describe a request, but will is used in informal occasions and would will be used in formal occasions. So I'll just repeat the examples. For showing request in an informal occasion, that is when you are talking to your friend or colleague, you can say, will you help me file these papers? But if it is a more formal occasion, if you are in a meeting, then you will say, would you please turn on the light? So for requests, we can use both will and would. Now, when you are refusing something, in the present or future tense, we will use will, and in the past tense, we will use would. For example, he won't share his potato chips with me. So here he is talking about the present or maybe the future tense. So he is using will. But when he is talking about something which has happened in the past, he will say, I wouldn't eat vegetables as a child. Similarly, when you are talking about an offer, that is in the present or in the future tense. So when you are offering your help or your services, you can use will. For example, I will help you carry your groceries. So this is one way of using the modal verb will. But when you are talking about habits of the past, then you will use would. I would bike to work almost every day. This means he used to do it, but it is no longer a habit now. So when he is talking about some habit of the past, we can use the modal verb would. Other modal verb ought to is used to show advice or when you are suggesting certain actions or to show that it is necessary. For example, you ought to revise your lessons. Margaret ought to exercise more. Here you are advising somebody, you are suggesting something and you are saying that it is necessary. Similarly, when you are trying to show a sense of probability, for example, it may happen, then you can see our team ought to win this match for today. She ought to receive the package tonight. So there is chances or a probability of something happening. Then you can use ought to. Generally, ought to is not used in questions or in negative sentences. So we have seen how to use the different kinds of modal verbs. There are many reasons as to why you should use modal verbs whenever you are speaking or writing. This is more helpful, especially when you are speaking and trying to communicate with others. One of the main reasons as to why you should use modal verbs is because they are very easy to use and you will be able to make a favorable impression on others by showing that you have a knowledge of these different modal verbs and how to use them. Also, these modal verbs are able to add or give some extra meaning to the words or sentences which you speak. They can make out the difference between the finer nuances when you are speaking. For example, where it shows a sense of compulsion, where it is not a sense of compulsion. So just by the change in a modal verb, you can bring out this difference in the words in which you are speaking. Also, and most importantly, the use of such modal verbs makes your speech look more polite, especially when you are offering certain advice or suggestions or when you are asking questions or asking for certain permissions. So, when you use the modal verbs, the way you speak sounds much more polite. So students, if you follow these different techniques, you will be able to speak and communicate in a much better way. Students, we have seen how we can make use of the different kinds of modal verbs whenever we are communicating with others. So, we have also seen why it is important to use modal verbs. It shows more politeness and it also shows that you have a better command over the language. Using modal verbs will help to improve your communication process also. So students, please make use of these tips which have been discussed here and this will help you to speak in a better way and also to make yourself more comprehensible to others. I hope you liked this